Hi everybody, this is Tony at Camp K9. We're out in the garden this morning and it's been a while since I've done a vlog. So I've taken some photos, put them up on my Facebook page, but probably haven't done a proper tour for a while. So we're going to take a wander around and see what I've got to show you. I haven't tidied up, this is real life. So we've had some deliveries, there's some rubbish piled up to go out, so please excuse the mess and I'll just walk you around. You're here to see the plants after all, aren't you? I hope so. Okay, let's start off under the pergola. So, it's been warm underneath here, and we have the peppers growing along here, and we have some melons growing along here. First of all, I'd like to say I don't have any melons yet. It's a sore spot with me, the melons. This is the second year of attempting to grow them. I'm watching the space. I'm just watching the space. I'm not going to worry too much. If they come up, they come up. If they don't, next year, this winter, I will spend all this winter researching how to grow melons in the UK, and then hopefully have a good enough harvest next year. In the meantime, what have we got going? So, in this first pot, we have some lovely chilies. They're coming along well. This is obviously a mixed pot where I ran out of pots or whatever, because we also have some bell peppers in here and some were in here as well, unless I picked them. Nope, there you go, early yellows. Not so big in this pot, so I think probably because they were crammed in. We have a rainbow chili plant. Have you seen these before? Tiny little purple chilies, and as they ripen up they go through various different colors of sort of like a pale orange, a stronger orange, and a deeper orange. We move on, we've got another mixed pot of bell peppers. Oh, where are you? Bell peppers and early yellows. And then we're down on the ground, and on the ground these pots are slightly bigger, so they've got a bit more room to grow, and they're primarily the yellow peppers. Oh, I say that, and look, there's a bell. But the yellow peppers are coming along well along here. I've already harvested quite a few off of here, and we've had them already, so I just keep harvesting, growing and harvesting. I'm not quite sure exactly at what point they're ready to harvest, but I just keep pulling their seeds off of them and hoping that they're going to grow more. They want to survive after all, don't they? So yeah, loads of these early yellows this year. The melons are the plants that are in the back of these tubs that are growing up here. You can see that they're growing they're beginning to move now. They're coming up the fence, which is lovely, and they've got plenty of flowers on them. But I can see a touch of powdery mildew as well. So the big question is are we going to get anything off of it before the powdery mildew takes the plant? Over here we have some ram's horns. That's a nice looking one. That's pretty much ready to harvest, which is lovely. We eat a lot of peppers in this family. There you go, here's another one. This one's a bit too heavy for the plant. Let's pull the plant down. I might have to harvest that one early. So yes, we eat a lot of peppers in this house. There's only two of us, and this is not enough peppers for us. We really do eat a lot of peppers. We don't, however, eat chilies, so this is a new year for chilies for me. And here we go. We've got another two of these rainbow pots here. That one looks gorgeous. Can you see that? Does the camera do it justice? So there you go. Those are my pepper plants. I just have to make a feature comment. This is a little rose plant that is absolutely gorgeous. A friend of mine came over for a meal back in, was it March, Debbie? I can't remember. A group of us got together, doggy group from the scent class that we have been taking together, and she was very kind enough and brought me that lovely rose, and it did really well, and then I moved it and it didn't do so well, and now I've just moved it again, and as you can see It loves its prime spot on the table, and has got 3 beautiful flowers. I'm intrigued. I am really intrigued whether it's the same plant that is producing all 3 of those flowers, because 2 of them are completely different colour. Right, I don't know if you've been following my Facebook updates, but I lost pretty much every tomato that I grew to blight this year. However, in these 2 pots here either side of the path, this pot here and this pot here, I had dumped some of the tomatoes that I didn't have room for in the garden, and they literally were my backup plants, and I didn't think I needed them, and I wasn't really paying much attention to them, and they pretty much went to pot, literally. So when the others died, I went running around the back of the garden trying to find the backup plants, found them in an absolutely awful mess, thought there's no way they are going to survive, bunged them into these pots with a little bit of extra earth and just left them there, and continued to try and save my blight-ridden tomatoes. I didn't really get to save those plants, and these ones have actually provided the only tomatoes so far that have ripened. So it's always worth having those backup plants. I'm not expecting to get too much from here. I did get another one which we ate last night. There's another yellow on there. I had hoped for some backup whites, but I didn't get those. There's another, I have no idea what that is growing on there. And these were just a complete mix of tomato plants. These ones over here have only just, oh no, look, we have a yellow. These must have mostly been yellow backups then. Can't see much more. That might be a striped tomato in there. I have no idea. Funnily enough, these are ones that have not been pruned, haven't had anything done to them. They are strangling each other, and they are still producing. I may not prune next year. I might not prune. Anyway, what else have we got going here? So, this is my herb wall garden. Let's go over here first, shall we? Let's have a wander over here. So, along here, we planted, there's the wall that goes round like that, and then it goes round there, and it goes round there. So that area there is very shaded by the willow tree, and this area up here not so much. They have had some lettuce in there, which we've harvested some of, and some just bolted like they do, and they've been fed to the goats. The goats did escape at one point and munch away at some of my herbs. Some of the annual herbs, I took my eye off the ball, completely missed the fact that that they needed tending to, and lost them. But my perennials are still doing well. So I have, and I've moved them, so they're going through a little bit of shock this year as well. But we still have rosemary, thyme, parsley, sorrel, Japanese coriander? That's not right, is it? Some sort of oriental coriander. I can't for the life of me grow normal coriander, so that's my backup at the moment. Oregano, variegated oregano. Just look at these lovely flowers on the oregano. I just love the foliage of that. It's just so beautiful. What else have we got going? Oh, we've got a lettuce there that has gone to seed that I haven't taken any notice of. We have got some odd peppers growing in this one over here because it gets a bit more sun. I wasn't expecting much. They were just the odd pepper plant that I just hadn't got room for over in the others, and decided I'd plant over here. They are lacking nutrients over here, so it's a bit of rough earth in these, I've got to say. It's not got much going for them. The herbs are pretty strong, so they kind of cope better with the good drainage and stuff. Anyway, so along here we have the mint that's kind of grown up quite a bit from what it was when we planted it back in there. And this is the catnip. Just, you can see the bees love it. It's gone. Can I get that? Did I get that bee on camera? Am I getting the bee on camera? I don't know if I am. I'm chasing this bee around this plant. I have no idea if you managed to catch her or not. Anyway, the bees love the catnip. Catnip is a type of mint, and when it flowers, it is just drawn in the bees like crazy. My chives, pretty much nothing left of my chives because the goats got to that. And this is my lemon balm, which normally absolutely and utterly takes over the place. Has been quite under shock, I think, from being transplanted. There's some watercress left over. And as ever, nasturtiums pouring out. Obviously, though, the nasturtiums enjoy the sunny spot of the wall. But I think it's cute. I mean, just look at that. You see that? It's like its own bouquet. A naturally formed bouquet. Wedding bouquet kind of thing with the traily bits. Oh, I forgot to note. There is a pot there, a blue pot there, that's got fennel in it. I only harvest the leaves. I've got to say, I've got to start harvesting the bulbs. A little bit of flowering lavender in this pot here. This pot over here of lavender is just starting to flower as well. The petunias were doing great. I had absolutely lovely run of petunias either side of the path. I hadn't been able to get hold of any more white stones, so I have only now still got white stones on one side, no white stones on the other side. And then we had a mole, and it appeared here. And then the dogs thought they wanted to get the mole, so they dug here. And so now I have a nice bald patch. The love of owning animals, really. Okay, so now what else do we have? I moved the pots that had the trees in them. They were none too pleased with being moved from their spots. The cherry tree that produced cherries last year that I missed didn't produce any this year. However, the plum tree produced its very first plum. It was tiny, it was delicious, it was lovely. I do hope we get more. The medlar tree, which is this one up here, that not happy with being moved, not happy with the hot weather, the lack of water, but we do have some of these fruits on it. But yet again, I haven't actually got around to tasting them or know even how to eat them. More backup tomatoes in these two pots here are producing tomatoes, but also suffering with a bit of blight. This is Petunia Path, and this is Ground Cherry Alley, something like that anyway. So we have ground cherries, first year that I have ever managed to grow them, germinate them. Previous years haven't even got round to managing to germinate them. This year germinated them, have plants coming out of my ears. There will be some, I might point them out on the way round, but basically they look like this. They're growing very well, I am surprised. And then they have these little lantern fruits here. And when they are ripe, they will turn yellow and they will drop off. At which point I've then got to run around and try and get them before anything else does. This is a tomatillo plant, and I believe this means that those are pretty much ripe and ready to go. Those again were backup plants, still sitting in their little pots, in a bigger pot, filled with water, neglected, abused, and producing. Right, where should we go first? Should we go into... Okay, we have a choice. We could go back this way to the arches, or we could go into here to the boats. think we might go back here to the arches. So, we have had some amazing peas off of these arches. Now, these arches here, I've harvested all the peas. The plants have definitely dried up, gone to nothing, pulled them, and left space now for the squash that's growing over there. The front's looking very bare, so I am considering planting maybe some more beans there, or even some more peas, depending on whether I can find any varieties that like this time of the year. But you can see that this I did not plant here. This squash, so basically I plant the peas to go over, but I also plant squash on the bottom, and the idea is the squash come up and they climb over the arch. And you can see at the back there, or even here, you can see here we have squash climbing over. Just trying. Will you hook up there a little bit more? I'm not sure. Well, I'll come and see you later. This one has got it sussed. This one knows what it's doing. It's come up this side and over, and its matching counterpart has come up this side and over. This is a variety I have not grown before, so I have no idea what to expect out of it. This is a variety that I've grown before, and I've planted here, and I was looking forward to having at the end of this arch, because this is where it grew so well last year, but I got my plants mixed up when I planted them in, got them around the wrong way. This one here that you can see here, this isn't actually growing in this garden. That's growing in the extension garden behind us here, and has come all the way through. I'll show you better a bit later. You will again see nasturtium growing all the way through this, and here's a good example why we like our nasturtium. These nasturtium here are taking care of our caterpillar population. So the caterpillars absolutely love the nasturtium. So we let the caterpillars have the nasturtium, and that way they don't have our plants. However, in the case of this bed, I have to say, because we've got the squash climbing over the bed and the nasturtium climbing over the bed, the poor carrots that are trying to grow underneath are getting a little bit swamped. So I think I need to do a bit of pruning and a bit of tidying up, because there are carrots under here. Now, I like a wild garden, but this one is crazy. Just, can you see? This is meant to be a bed where, there's the camera. So all the way along this bed here is meant to be carrots. That's what you should be able to see. Now, I don't know how many carrot plants you can see in there. So this is the carrot, okay, the ferny looking one. This is a squash. These bulbs here are last year's leeks. They are planted to the very edge of the bed, and they've collapsed in with their own weight. And back there is the rest of this squash plant here. Now, okay, it's not just one plant. So we'll go back to the arch garden in a minute. We're now into the extension. So we planted this extension this year, built this extension in the garden this year, because we thought COVID year, gonna need more food, might be a food shortage, who knows what this pandemic is going to do. Obviously now we've got a hand on it. It's not as panicky as we thought it was going to be, but even so, it's nice to have extra food, isn't it? So this year I went, right, corn. I'm either going to coat, this is the third year I've tried corn, and I decided, right, I will take everything I have learnt on corn and put it together, because the last 2 years I've not managed to grow it at all. So the first year, I can't remember where I planted it the first year. The second year I knew you had to plant with the Three Sisters, so I planted lines of the of beans with squash interplanted into them, with corn integrated into them as well. But it was in a straight line, and again I had no luck whatsoever. So this is the sort of grid approach to planting corn. Corn likes to be planted in squares. Right, okay, third year, lucky. Look at some of these. Now, I am really seriously hoping that I get some good crops out of them. Whoops, I just trod on a... Sorry plant. Another one of the squashes going over. So, very successful on the corn. This bunch of corn here is growing bigger than that bunch over there. I've got two beds identical, just slight different positioning, maybe slightly different amount of sun they're getting. Fairly obvious difference in the size of the plants, as you can see from the squash. We have some squash here. Look at the size of this here. I can't even get to most of these plants, so I'm going to have to figure out a way of managing to do that. So this, I'm going to bring you back up again here. There you go. This is this plant, this bed. We'll just wander around it so you can get a good look. Ooh, patty pan down there. Do you like a bit of patty pan? Oh. Okay. Right at the front of it. That's a bit easier now. So yes, it looks a little less of a wild garden from the front. That's because this is the shaded side and that is the sunny side, I believe. Okay, in comparison, let's take a wander over here. This was planted in exactly the same way. Those are your corn, beans are down the middle, and the squash around the outside. However, these squash are nowhere near as big, and these corn are nowhere near as big. We're now at the back, which is the same position as the other one. Let's get you right at the back, looking at it from there. See? Nowhere near as big. So that slight different placing, it's got the same soil in it because we do no dig, so we place the same soil on top of the ground. We use the same seeds, we use the same plants, we plant at the same time. The only thing that's different is a few feet. So it's got to be light. We do have this massive willow tree here behind us, and on this side we have the conifers that border the property here. But the other one's still under the same pressure. Maybe slightly not. Anyway, there we go. Those are my corn and bean and courgette areas. Not courgette, sorry, squash areas. Now this has become very much a squash paradise over here, and it seems to work really well, and I think I'll probably use this area again next year because it is done so incredibly well. This was, I don't know if you remember from the earlier, I'm going to move to the front. Do I move to the front? Oh, let's have a look. So this was an old Ottoman bed frame that we used. Lifted this is the mattress, and then this is the base down here. So the base has got the soil in, then the mattress holder mattress base frame is up, and then I added some string along it as well. So as you can see, these guys have absolutely loved having this bed. We've got some nice squash growing on it here. I have no idea what that variety is. I really ought to keep better notes on what I plant. Here is one of the same as the other one across the other side. I know I've got some butternut squash growing in this bed. And then we have this little climber at the front, which is absolutely and utterly taken over. But as yet, I haven't seen a fruit on it. So at the moment, it's just a green weed taking over. But I'm hoping it's going to produce something. I really am. I think it will. I think it's just slow. I'm thinking these are going to turn into, let me get my glasses on. I'm thinking these are going to turn into flowers by the looks of it. And then once they grow into flowers, yeah, I think there's at the very tips of all of them, there are what looks like potential flowers. So maybe this is going to burst open with flowers in the next month. I have to say my garden seems to be quite a bit behind other people's gardens this year. I got in a little bit of a panic. I mean, I'm not meant to worry about things like this. I've always said I run a as wild as possible vegetable garden. I interplant things. I plant more than you probably should do in an area. I kind of let it go wild. I enjoy watching it grow bigger and bigger and trailing all over the place and seeing plants just become plants. I really wish one year I would have the guts to just not harvest, just leave it and see what would come up the following year, because I think it would probably, if something happened to me, Brian wouldn't have a clue what to do, and it might just get completely and utterly left, and it would completely go to pot. But if he didn't harvest anything, I think he could scrummage around in here the following year and actually find enough to eat. I would hope so. I would hope that it would naturally just take care of itself. Before I leave this area, two more bits to point out. This row here was the directly sown chard and spinach. The spinach all blue. The chard is very, very slow burn, but is growing. So I'm quite happy for it to just take its time, and as long as it's living and it's not being eaten, when the leaves go off of the willow tree and it gets some more sun, it will grow up. It will hopefully give us a later crop. Because this is such a shaded area, I think I just got wet. I think it's raining. Isn't that just typical? Just when I'm going to do the video. Okay. So because this is such a shaded area, I put some Brussels in here because we've had no luck. I've had no luck planting Brussels in the past. Now, talking of Brussels and brassicas, this is my Brussels and brassica hedge. It's definitely raining. I am definitely getting wet now. So, because they take up so much room, I decided that I would just give them this area along the side of the fence. Along the side of the fence, because when they get really, really big and they start toppling over and everything, hopefully I can just use bungee cords or some sort of string and tie it from one end and hold them up all the way along to this end. I've just had a notification my battery is now running out. I'm not going to get around this whole garden. These, I'll see if I can rush the rest of it. These are the potatoes. The potatoes are coming, the early potatoes, they're now coming to an end, so I will be able to harvest them. These are the ones that are in the bags. Anything that's green, I'm just going to leave. Anything that goes completely brown, I will harvest. Anything that's green has still got some growing to do. We have had the odd... Thank you, Hagrid. We have had the odd caterpillars on the back here, even though we've had the nasturtium. And whilst I'm here, I'm just going to pick off that one and that one and hopefully this one. That's it, wonderful. They're the only ones I can see. And I'm just going to throw these back at the chickens. The chickens don't like the caterpillars, but they will eat. Oh, I've just seen another one. But they will eat the leaves, and the caterpillars won't have anything to eat, unfortunately. Is that a new set of caterpillars? Oh my god, it is. I think we'll take them whilst we have the opportunity. They must have just literally just hatched. Typical, this happens just when it's raining, isn't it? And my battery's running out, and I said I'd be really quick. But if I don't do this now, I know I will forget to do it. Okay. I'll come back occasionally anyway. Oh, sorry, camera went a bit swift there. I will come back here anyway because I come back and I just check on them. At the end of the day, I've planted so many that the caterpillars hopefully should be able to eat a few and then disappear and leave me some to eat myself. Okay, right. Very, very quickly. Back through the arches into the U-bed. Here we go in the U-bed. These were tiny, weeny little chards that I planted earlier on in the year. They have been coming on amazingly, and we have had some absolutely lovely chard for lunch. So that's the chard. Our onion pots have been replaced with some leeks in them. Definitely left the holes so there's plenty of room for the leeks to grow up and develop. Have left the peas in here for the moment because there are still some young peas on there, and I even spotted the odd flower. So did that. Along here we have some beetroot at the front, which is not really coming to anything, and last year's brassicas at the back, which I'm picking for the chickens. We also have the odd sunflower around. Okay, we're going to leave this area. Oh, more ground cherries and tomatillos at there. The front fence to this also had peas against it, and they have been harvested, just as the front fence to the boat area has got peas on it, and they're still growing slowly with a little bit to harvest. Right, I'm not sure how much battery I've got left. Very, very quickly, this is my poor tomato area. Blight, 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 blight. Not this one, sorry, behind it. Most of them went to blight. So this plot didn't even grow very big, so I've got to dig that out and have a look at what's going on underneath it. This one has got a couple of plants that haven't died off completely with blight. I've let them go because